welcome to Women's Radio. I'm Pat Barrett. I think you're going to truly enjoy my international guest today. Her name is Rupa Patel. And Rupa and I met several years ago. And she is an amazing example of success, of coming along, having a direction, working really hard, of course, running into the usual brick walls, and then finding solutions for herself, which she now passes along to other people. She's the founder of Weekend Nuts, and really now one of her big jobs is an organization called Heart-Centered Club, Heart-Centered Leaders Club. And she has people from all over the world, 19 different countries, I think it is. And I know that you're going to learn from her experience, and now she's used her experience to make things simple for a lot of other people who are getting started, and also for people who've been in business, to help them see how they can simplify what they're doing so they can put it out in a better way. It's my great pleasure to welcome Rupa Patel from India today. Welcome.
Thank you, Pat. It is always an honor and a privilege to be with you on your show. Thank you for having me.
Oh, and thank you. Well, and I have to tell the audience, part of this happened because you remembered and got back in touch. And then I was a guest on your program now, which was fun. And your wonderful audience, they were so responsive. And I hope to emulate what you're doing, because you are really reaching out to a lot of people. One of the things we talked about before we started recording is that now Rupa has already reached out to a lot of men as well as a lot of women. We were talking about how the audience had changed. And I was saying that one of the reasons that we're now using other platforms is to be able to reach out to men and include them in what we're doing, so that men and women now be the example for men and women co-creating. Mm-hmm. So that is the ultimate plan. And I think when we can do that and certainly reach out across borders and work with other people, just like we're doing, that we have a bigger chance of doing really good things. So I really want you to share your story with our audience and then tell us some of the current things that you're doing.
Thank you for asking, Pat. And yes, my Heart Leaders Club members, they are just so amazing. And thank you very much for asking that question. Where do I come from? I wouldn't go too far back in my story. I already did that in my first interview with you. What an honor it was. But today, I would like to share with the listeners, your listeners, both men and women, what happened when 10 years ago, when I wanted to start my first business. 10 years ago, in fact, it was around a little more than 10 years ago, when I decided to start my own business. I wanted to start an event management business. Mm-hmm. Very, easy entrance, very low barrier entrance, business. So I wanted to start that. And like a good researcher, Pat, what I did was I made a list of at least 10 event management companies which are doing great, which are at least 5 years or more in business, and which are successful. And once I had that list, I decided to reach out to them and tell them, especially the leaders of that business. I said, I literally reach out to them. I used a lot of LinkedIn and a combination of emails. And I reached out to the business owner or the CEO of these companies. And I had only one request. I said, I am going to launch an event management business, and I'm an absolute newbie. I come from a tech background. I'm a tech manager. I'm at a leadership role in a tech company. I'm an engineer. So I really don't know how to run an event management company, but you seem to be doing great. Would you be my mentor? Would you guide me?
I think a lot of people are afraid of doing that, but I was told the same thing. I'm not sure I listened, but I was so lucky to attract them. But you're
Mm.
absolutely, and people love to be asked, and people are so afraid to ask.
And that's what I thought, Pat, that I'm being this brave and really smart person to reach out. So I sent this email, this shout out to 10 people, 10 business owners. And take a guess, Pat, how many people do you think would have responded to that? And I was, by the way, I added a clause saying, P.S., I would love to pay you for your time. So it's not a free mentoring that I'm requesting, but I would really like to learn the tips of the trade. Guess how many people responded out of 10?
Well, I'd probably say the usual average is one or two.
You nailed it. Yes, one person responded,
Mhm.
and his response was, why should I help my competitor? I just couldn't believe what I was reading. I said, why should I help my competitor? And my first reaction was, but I'm barely your competitor. I'm barely in business. You are so far ahead of me. You are so established. You are doing trade shows and international conferences, and you have this big logos. Are you scared of competition? And would you not like to share what you know? Oh my God, that to me was a shocker. And that was a little time when I made a little, promise to myself saying that if and when I'll be successful, if and when I will run a business, and if and when somebody reaches out to me for help, I will never turn them down. I will do whatever possible, even if it is a little bit of guidance, a little bit of perspective, a little bit of direction, I would do that. And fast forward to a couple of years later,
Mm.
I today, I have already trained a couple of aspiring event management company startup founders, and they have started their event management business. There is enough in this world, Pat. And yet people think of this, really scarcity mindset saying, oh, why should I help my competitor? Well, be a bigger person, be a guide, be a mentor, share what you know because you're so
Well,
far ahead.
you've also started new things, and you probably see, I'm so glad that I felt like doing that, and I'm happy that I did that because it actually may end up freeing me up to do this bigger job that I now see I can do. People,
Very
you can't always see down the road. I think that part of that um, is exactly the name of your company, heart centered. If you can be heart centered, you have real intelligence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wish I could say that, that was the name I came up with at that point of time. No, I didn't even know. It was just a little promise that I made to myself. And a couple of years later, that manifested into this Heart Leaders, where one of the thing, and I would love to share this. You see this? This is the little manifesto, by the way,
Oh
that
yes.
I hand out to our heart leaders. And one of the things that I say is this. You see this? You are so far ahead of so many of them.
Oh, truly,
Serve
truly.
them.
Yes, really.
Serve them. So this goes back to that story. Now you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's so much fun when you do something that you feel inspired to do. You have the courage to go and ask for the help that you need. And then you take those actions, and oh my goodness, it works.
Absolutely. And why do things alone? This, oh my God, this
Really.
crazy requirement that people have. And I was one of those crazy people. I had this requirement to try and figure it out all alone. Partly it was because 10 of them rejected me and they did not help me at that
Mm.
point of time. So yes, I had to figure it out alone. But that kind of changed over a couple of years. And when that changed, when I started doing these three things, which is either delegate, outsource, or automate, ask for help, either
Mhm.
to machines to automate stuff or delegate or outsource, life became so much easier. And I got
Right.
more time to help do more stuff that I love a lot, like helping others, guiding others, inspiring others, keynotes. Love that.
Well, we were also talking about our audience, and I said, well, I started very early streaming. I was one of
Mm.
the very first streaming sites, and I knew that I wanted a women audience, and I had done some research and just luckily found the right researcher at the right time who had done a major work that ended up being called the oh, right, Pat, but defining my audience, and 2/3 of the people that he defined were women. And I thought, well, that's perfect. And so I knew that we were on course, but that's exactly who we got. So
Mm.
98% of our audience became women, but the vision that I was given wasn't just for women, although it was a big part. I mean, we had to get women to be able to speak up, but I
Sure.
knew that ultimately we wanted men. So now we are reaching out on other platforms and hopefully opening things up a bit. But you obviously found the trick early because you started with a lot of men who were your clients, and then you acquired more higher end women or leader women clients. Is that right?
That is correct.
And now it's just growing and growing in in all directions. I guess.
Blessings.
Yeah, and so how did the heart-centered leaders come about?
Yeah, so as I said, initially it was all about just going out and helping people who are starting their business, who have already started their business. Because as you know, Pat, most of the people who start their business, initially they are not funded. Initially, they are burning
Right.
their money or trying to figure things out, and they don't even have guidance and support initially. Ad budgets are limited. So because I knew all this, and an interesting thing happened just a couple of months ago before you contacted me first, and that was during pandemic time. What I realized is, so I started helping entrepreneurs and early stage entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs early on, somewhere in year 2019, almost a year before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And during COVID, what happened was I realized that there's so many businesses who are not even prepared. I had an event management business. Luckily for me, I just woke up one day with a premonition in 2016. And the question that I asked myself is,
Hmm.
what if people can't do events anymore? What if there is no disposable income or disposable money for people to celebrate? Because it's just good to have a thing, right? To celebrate, to have events. It's a good to have commodity, so or a service. So in 2016, I realized that I need to figure out something else in addition to my business.
It was
And
very
then
intuitive.
yes, and I thank the universe for it. And after that, I tried and I failed at not one, not two, but four different businesses, online and offline, including imports and exports. So that was the fun part. And of course, it was very painful. Now I say it with a big smile. It was very painful then because I was so frustrated. I wanted to really figure it out. And I knew that I wanted to do something online. And again, it's so overwhelming. And because it took me a lot of efforts, and by then I was already serving, in my first business, the event management business, I was already serving clients like Amazon and Lenovo and
Oh,
others.
that's really nice.
Yeah, but that I couldn't get the premonition out of my mind. I said, what happens if people can't come together and do events? What then? What happens to me then? And that's why I was really looking forward for what do I do online. And online is what I wanted to do because I was always so comfortable working with national and international people, because I was in IT company, a really big multinational company. So I wanted to always do something big, and but more than big, I wanted to do something meaningful. So by the time 2019 came, I realized that I was already helping a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs to figure out, what business do I start? How do I profit from my knowledge? That was a beautiful series that I had, and a little workbook that I published. So by 2019, I was already helping a lot of businesses. And by 2020, I opened my heart, I opened my doors. I said, I am going to coach and mentor 5, existing businesses, offline businesses who are hit by COVID. Every single month, I would get on call, and they don't even need to share their email address. They don't even need to buy anything from me, but I really wanted to serve them. And a little story happened wherein, from the country of Philippines, which was very badly hit during COVID, one of the ladies there came in and she said, Rupa, I have this offline business which is very badly hit. I teach people how to make candles, scented candles, and I don't know what to do now. And it is all about putting food on my table. I said, well, welcome to my mastermind. So I gave her a free ticket to one of my business leaders mastermind. And just within 8 to 10 minutes, I could just give her solutions, perspective, directions, and ask her to focus on take one action in the next 24 hours, the next action in the next 7 days, and come back and reach out to me if she needed help. But the intention was how to turn her offline business into online. And within the next 2 weeks, Pat, she reaches out to me. And after that, we don't speak, okay? After the mastermind, we barely speak. But 2 weeks later, she comes to me with a beautiful video. And she says, Rupa, I followed exactly what you said in that 8 to 10 minutes of mastermind. And today I'm reaching out to you to tell you that I got my first paid client. I was able to turn my offline business into online. And if I can do it with one client, I can do it with many.
Oh, wow.
And that, oh
I
my
get
God, can you
chills.
imagine how
Yes, I
amazing?
get chills when I hear the story. It's a really good story. Yeah.
Yes.
So I
And
imagine
that,
at this point that you've multiplied that many, many times over with other people.
yes, yes. And that is how the Heart Leaders Club came into existence. It is all about, doing things together and doing something meaningful to, leave a legacy, that big black box which says
Yes.
live to make an impact and leave a legacy.
Yes.
That is how it came into existence. And today, Heart Leaders Club is from various continents, various countries. We come together, we get on live hot seat calls, live business leaders mastermind call, the same call that helped this amazing lady from Philippines. Her name is Bren. I love you, Bren, if you're listening to this. So hot seat calls, mastermind calls, and very newly I have introduced the business business networking calls, where people can get on and they can freely promote their business.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, depending on which tier of Heart Leaders Club that you are in, you can also get a part of, a mini coaching with me, a laser sharp coaching with me. So this is what Heart Leaders Club is. I would say it is more of, networking and mentoring on steroids for pennies on dollars.
That sounds like fun.
Yes. And all people are amazing.
Well,
They're just so amazing.
You should be sure that you're going to tell people how to get in touch with you, because they may say, well, I'd like to do that, or I'd like to try that. So how do they find you?
Oh, it's simple. It's my website, which is rupapatil.com. It is rupapatil.com. Once you go there, you'll find a beautiful link of Heart Leaders Club, and we are always there. So this is more like a very close-knit a circle of friends, a very close-knit circle of friends who are there for each other. And we celebrate this. Yes. And we celebrate the smallest and the biggest of your wins. Your wins are our wins. So we have a separate section just to celebrate wins.
Amazing.
So, yeah, would love
Well,
to.
you also had a very simple flow chart that you said that you would like to share with people. Did you want to put that up on the screen?
Oh, would love to. And this is mainly helpful for those who have businesses and who don't know if they are stuck with sales and marketing. It's a little Lego story. If you remember when Lego was was on the brink of bankruptcy. Lego, the same Lego, when it was on the brink of bankruptcy, they went back to the basics. Simple questions. They asked themselves, Whom do we serve? Yes, there are kids. Why do they care about Lego? Because it's so simple, intuitive. The Lego bricks are so amazing, so intuitive. And from that point onwards, they went back to basics. When I was reading this Lego story, I thought, okay, you know what? This makes sense. Going back to the basics. And therefore, if your listeners are there, and now I'm talking to your listeners and our audience, if you are running a business and if you feel that, I don't have enough ad budget, I don't have enough social media following, how do I get my sales and marketing? Because Pat, you and I know that revenue is literally the lifeline, the bloodline, the lifeline of business. And in order to get revenue, we need sales. In order to get sales, we need leads. In order to get leads, I would say what we need the most is this thing. Where is it? Let me share that. Okay, let me share this. So I am literally giving the easiest way, the easiest starting point for anybody who want to know how to generate leads without major ad budget, without major social media following. And this is a super duper simplified version of ideal buyer persona. I have written a very detailed ebook with fill in the blank questions that people can use. Because here's the thing, Pat, and everybody who is listening, buyers buy from you when they feel understood,
Right.
not the other way around.
Right.
And the easiest way to make them feel understood is to literally know everything about them, who they are, what
Truly.
are their top 5 pains, their frustrations, their desires, their aspirations. There is so much, but at least can we start with top 5 pains? And how does my business help them? But here, probably the most, if I were to pick 2 very important blocks in that little grid that you see on the screen, and by the way, this is something that I share in all my keynotes, my workshops. I keep sharing this because this is the super simplified version. Maybe you do not have time. Maybe you do not have energy to create an ideal buyer persona. But can you answer this question? What are the top 5 pains and frustrations of your ideal buyer? Good. You're going to be so ahead of others, especially your competitors. And the second important part in this screen is where exactly are your ideal buyers or prospects hanging out online and offline? And Pat, I'm so happy to say that this is the same cheat sheet that one of my friends who is a scientist, she used it for her, probiotics business. And just using exactly this, she was able to generate 125 leads and 85 sales in a month.
Wow. That's
125. Yes.
yeah.
And again, this is free. You don't need Rupa Patil for that. Pick this, go with this. Yes, if you want to go deep dive into it, if you want to know, okay, what do I say about this? Now I have pains. What do I do about it? Yes, for that, you can reach out to me. And depending on when somebody is listening to this recording, there would, on my website, rupapatil.com, there is always a way to book a call with me or my team. Let's figure out. But this is a little gift that I want the audience to give to themselves. So take a screenshot, take this and implement, because knowledge is not power, applied knowledge. What do you think about that, Pat?
Well, I'm glad that we got that in. I know that you're going to get some good stories just out of that. That'll be great. We'll do this again after we get the stories in. So I'm so happy that we were able to coordinate our times together.
Yes.
You're 10 and a half hours ahead of us. And so it took a little coordination, but it's so worth it. And we talked about how important it is to begin to reach out to people internationally, in other cultures, in other places, so that we can really begin using some of the techniques that you were talking about to change things in the world that need to be changed. So just as you have given back to people, even that you did not expect to get anything from, we all are kind of implored to do that at this point. so that we all can live in a happier place. So thank you so much, so very much for being my guest. And I'm sure that we're going to continue doing this so that we can share back and forth. And I just love it that you reached out again after so long a time, and at a time I really was so happy to hear from you. So we're going to keep this up, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being my guest today, and always the very best of success and happiness to you.
Thank you, thank you so much, Pat. And you already know it that I'm your big fan. That's not a secret anymore, isn't it? So thank you very much for everything that you do, for
Well, thank
what
you.
you bring onto the table, the energy and the enthusiasm. I think even if, listeners can look at the way you do stuff and the intention, as you said, the heart with which we do something, intention counts. Intention
It does.
absolutely matters.
Yeah,
So
it
thank you
does.
very much for being that incredible person that you are. And also a big thank you to all the audience who
Yes.
invested this time in themselves, because they had a choice of tuning out and tuning in to Netflix or whatever they enjoy. But thank you so much if you're listening, and if you're reached to this far end, thank you so much. And Pat, thank you once again for inviting me. Always an honor and privilege to serve you and your audience.
It's my pleasure, and I'm certain it's the audience feels the same way. Thank you very much, Rupa.
Thank you, Pat.